Today, we're going to talk about all of Deku's incredible fights throughout the series, and we are going to go through this chronologically. I am also going to keep score on how many battles Deku wins or loses, and I will only include the battles from the canon anime story, so no movie or anime filler battles are included. Alright, let's dive into Deku's first fight, which was against the Sludge villain. The villain suddenly attacked Bakugo, covered him in sludge, and took control over his explosive quirk. Seeing this, Deku charges in to save his school bully. Just when the Sludge villain is about to attack Deku, All Might swoops in and saves them both after seeing Deku's heroics. While this wasn't really a proper fight, I'm still counting it because if Deku hadn't acted, Bakugo might have been done for. But since All Might ended up taking out the Sludge villain, we have to add another category to the scoreboard, Undecided, as the fight between Mr. Sludge and Deku got interrupted. Deku's next big moment is during the UA entrance exam. The chaos leaves him scoreless and hopeless, until a massive 0-point robot suddenly attacks the examinees. As everyone runs, Deku spots Uraraka trapped under rubble, and something inside him shifts. With a burst of courage, he charges in, leaps, and, using One for All for the first time, smashes the robot with a single punch, breaking his arm in the process. By saving Uraraka and taking down the robot, Deku earns his spot at UA and adds his first victory to the scoreboard. Now, Deku and Uraraka face off against Bakugo and Tenya in the battle trials. Bakugo charges Deku with explosions, tearing Deku's mask and nearly blasting him with his grenade bracers. Deku dodges, catches Bakugo off guard by slamming him down, and tells Uraraka to go for the payload. But Bakugo goes all in with close combat, taking Deku down hard. In their final clash, with both fighters full of emotion, Deku redirects his Detroit Smash at the ceiling, making rubble fall. Uraraka seizes the moment, grabs the payload, and secures the win for Team Deku and Uraraka. Next, in the UA Sports Festival, Deku goes up against Hitoshi Shinso, a guy with mind control powers. When Shinso insults Ojiro, Deku gets angry, and his quick response lets Shinso take control of him. Just as Deku is about to step out of bounds, he breaks free with a shockwave from his fingers thanks to the vestiges of One for All. Back in control, Deku charges at Shinso, and with a shoulder toss sends him out of bounds, taking another victory. One of Deku's most epic fights is against Shoto Todoroki. This fight is insane, with Deku pushing Shoto to use his fire side. Deku gives it his all, even breaking his fingers to keep fighting, but Shoto's power is too much. After taking a bunch of ice attacks, Deku sacrifices his left arm for a huge smash, but Shoto stands strong. He tells Shoto to fight with everything he's got, and Shoto, finally fed up with his past, lets loose with his flames and is ready to go all out. The two clash in a massive explosion, and when the smoke clears, Deku's out of bounds, and Shoto wins. Up next, Deku vs. Gran Torino. This isn't a villain fight, but a training one. With Gran Torino's speed and agility, Deku charges up One for All, aiming for a big hit. But his attack is too slow, and Gran Torino dodges easily. The old man then slows down and takes Deku down. So Deku loses this round, but it's more of a lesson than a battle. But still, Gran Torino gets the win here. Shortly after, they have a rematch. With 3 minutes to tag Gran Torino, Deku's One for All starts flowing again. He leaps into the air and nearly lands a smash, but Gran Torino dodges and counters with a kick. As the timer ends, Gran Torino is impressed, admitting Deku made him dodge seriously for the first time in ages, while wiping away blood from a cut. So although he gave Gran Torino a cut, it wasn't because he physically touched him, so again, we have to add another loss to his score. His next fight is against the hero killer Stain as he jumps into the fight to save Tenya. Deku uses full cowl to dodge Stain's attacks and lands a powerful Detroit Smash, but Stain paralyzes him with his quirk. Just as Stain is about to kill Tenya, he once again gets interrupted as Shoto arrives and the two heroes team up. Stain almost overpowers them, but Tenya also rejoins the fight, and together they land a final attack, ultimately defeating Stain. While it was a team effort, Deku still takes the victory. Now Deku teams up with Bakugo to face All Might in the first term final exams. Bakugo attacks first but is easily overpowered. Deku tries to help, but they collide mid-air. Deku insists they need to work together, and after punching Bakugo to snap him out of it, Bakugo comes up with a plan. Deku blasts All Might with a grenade bracer, injuring himself in the process, but they still continue to fight. All Might destroys their weapons and catches up, but Bakugo uses explosions to buy Deku time. He then charges at All Might with full cowl, lands a punch, and carries Bakugo to the escape gate. Ultimately, they pass the exam, so I have to count this as a win for Deku. Deku's first serious solo fight with a villain is against Muscular, and this fight is brutal. Muscular toys with Deku, landing brutal punches and mocking him. Deku tries to fight back, but Muscular's enhanced strength makes it clear Deku's not strong enough. Fueled by determination, he unleashes One for All at 100%, but Muscular survives. When Muscular gets serious and uses his full power, Deku counters by once again using One for All, but this time at 1,000,000% and lands a devastating Delaware-Detroit smash, which finally defeats the villain. During the first phase of the Provisional Hero License exam, Deku goes up against Himiko Toga, who's disguised as Kami Utsushimi. Deku uses full cowl, but Toga dodges and sneaks up on him, pinning him down. After breaking free, Deku saves Uraraka from falling off a cliff, only to realize it's actually Toga in disguise. She quickly turns back into Kami and asks him if he'd save both heroes and villains alike, but he tells her to cover up. Hanta and the real Uraraka show up and Toga retreats, so this fight lands under undecided as well. Now, Deku and Bakugo's rivalry is at its peak as Bakugo challenges him to a fight to figure out why All Might chose Deku. They go all out, trading powerful hits. Deku unlocks 8% of One for All, speeding up, and lands a huge kick on Bakugo, who then counters with an explosion, blasting both of them away. They then clash in midair and Deku lands a punch, but Bakugo grabs his arm and flips him. With a massive explosion, Bakugo slams Deku into the ground and Deku loses the battle. Next we have Deku together with Class 1A against the Big Three's strongest member, Mirio Togata, who's leagues ahead of the heroes in Class 1A. Using his permeation quirk, Mirio phases through all their attacks. He takes down a few of the students, but Deku predicts his next move and delivers a powerful full cowl kick, but Mirio just phases right through it and knocks him down. He does the same to Tenya and the others, taking them out one by one. So Mirio stands victorious, shouting, "Power," while Class 1A is left defeated. Once again, we get a fight that's more of a challenge than an actual battle, as Night Eye challenges Deku to take his stamp from him in only 3 minutes. Using his Foresight quirk, Night Eye easily dodges everything Deku throws at him. Deku tries distracting him with his backpack and later throws books, but Night Eye just keeps avoiding and calls him reckless. So yeah, even though it wasn't a real fight, Deku still loses. Now, one of Deku's most intense battles, Deku vs. Overhaul. With Aries Rewind quirk, Deku can use full cowl at 100%, blitzing through Overhaul's massive attacks without breaking every bone in his body. Deku speeds through Overhaul's attacks, landing hit after hit while taking advantage of his recovery time. He finishes with a powerful punch that shatters Overhaul's mask. Overhaul falls, but as he tries to get up, Aries' power goes wild, rewinding him to his original form. Uraraka then swoops in and pins him down, putting an end to the fight. So this epic showdown ends with Deku taking a huge victory. Next up, Deku takes on Gentle Criminal, a villain with a sympathetic backstory and unique powers. The fight begins with Gentle using his quirk, bouncing around with elastic air pockets to throw Deku off balance. Deku activates full cowl and tries to keep up, but Gentle's unpredictable movements make it tough. After a tense chase, Deku finally pins Gentle down, but La Brava uses her quirk to boost Gentle's power, allowing him to escape and fight back even harder. In their final clash, Deku lands a devastating St. Louis smash, knocking Gentle out with a powerful kick to the face. In the joint training arc, Deku's team, Uraraka, Mineta, and Ashido, goes up against Class 1B, which includes Monoma and Shinso. Deku charges ahead, using full cowl, but then his new Black Whip quirk goes crazy and starts flailing out of control. Uraraka jumps in to help, telling Shinso to brainwash Deku and stop the chaos, which he does. When Deku wakes up, he remembers something from a past One for All user and finally gets control of Black Whip. Deku and Uraraka then take down Reiko, Yui, and Shinso. And with Class 1B locked up, Class 1A and Team Deku wins. After an awkward dinner at the Todoroki's, Natsuo gets kidnapped by the villain Ending. The villain challenged Endeavor, but as he was using Natsuo as a shield, Endeavor was too scared to attack, and he freezes up. So Deku, Bakugo, and Shoto swoop in and take Ending down easily while saving Natsuo. So another W for Deku. Now we finally get to the epic battle at Jakku City, where Deku and the pro heroes take on Shigaraki, who's just awakened his terrifying powers. Deku goes all out with One for All, and he keeps unlocking new quirks during the fight. In the chaos, Bakugo gets seriously hurt trying to protect Deku, which pushes Deku to fight even harder, swearing he'll take Shigaraki down no matter what. Even with Deku and the heroes' non-stop attacks, Shigaraki's regeneration keeps him going. But eventually, Shigaraki starts falling apart from the strain, but before the heroes can finish him off, Gigantomachia shows up and saves Shigaraki. So this epic fight ends up in undecided thanks to Machia. Reaching the Dark Deku arc, we meet an old enemy, Muscular, who now goes by the name Jailbreaker. Deku arrives just in time to stop Muscular from killing Yoshindo, smashing him into a house. Muscular is eager for a rematch, but Deku uses Smokescreen to cover the area, floats above the city to dodge Muscular's attacks, and with Danger Sense guiding him, he traps Muscular with Black Whip and throws him into a river. Muscular loses it, yelling that Deku's using cheap tricks. But as his muscles start tearing from Shindo's vibrations, Deku lands a huge blow and gets an easy victory. We now meet Lady Nagant, who snipes Deku from far away, but he dodges thanks to his Danger Sense. Trying to close the gap, Deku keeps evading her shots and uses Smokescreen to hide his movement. Combining One For All with Fajin, he rockets through the air, catching her off guard. When she targets Overhaul to distract him, Deku goes faster than her bullet with Foe 100%, saving him just in time. He then launches a powerful Foe 100% Manchester Smash, breaking her rifle and taking her down. He also said that he's stronger than Prime All Might in that moment, which is insane. After this intense fight, Deku soon finds himself up against another villain, Dictator. Exhausted and barely able to move, he's surrounded by civilians under Dictator's control, and is quickly getting overwhelmed. But then, Bakugo shows up, blasting Dictator with an AP shot, freeing the civilians and saving Deku. Since Class 1A took down the villain, this fight ends up in undecided. An exhausted Deku now has to face his entire class after he keeps insisting he must fight alone, but Class 1A won't let him go. Using teamwork, each classmate reminds him of their bond, blocking his escape despite his struggles. Tenya finally catches him midair, promising to support him just as Deku once did for him. Overwhelmed, Deku realizes how much they care, and Bakugo even apologizes for his past. But still, this fight ends up in undecided, as Deku could have continued to fight. Now back at UA, Deku's next quick skirmish is against Yuga Aoyama. After Hagakure overhears him reveal to his parents that he's the UA traitor, she's shocked and tells Deku. When confronted, Aoyama breaks down, confessing his betrayal and despair over hurting his friends. Though he tries to attack, Invisible Girl intercepts, redirecting his laser. Deku, in tears, restrains Aoyama and his parents with Black Whip, urging him to stop fighting. So Deku takes another victory. We now reach the final showdown between heroes and villains, which kicks off with the heroes trapping the villains and scattering them across Japan. However, their main man Deku is dragged to Okudo Island by Himiko Toga. Here she catches him off guard, attacks, and then throws him a curveball by declaring her love, which messes with his danger sense since her feelings aren't exactly threatening. She asks him to be her boyfriend, but hurt by his rejection, Himiko lashes out, going after both Deku and Uraraka. Asui and Uraraka then step in, promising Deku they can handle her, so he heads off to join the main fight against Shigaraki. So this fight also has to go under undecided. When Deku finally reaches UA to take down the unstable fusion of Shigaraki and All For One, he sees Bakugo dead on the ground, making him rage. Regaining control thanks to Mirio, Deku uses Gear Shift and hits Shigaraki with rapid, overwhelming attacks that Shigaraki struggles to counter. With Shigaraki's quirks temporarily held back by Monoma using Erasure, Deku gains the upper hand until an explosion from Shigaraki, now free of Eraser's influence, destroys the UA fortress. Eventually, Deku launches them both from the crumbling UA, and here is where I will end the first fight between Deku and Shigaraki, as Shigaraki was able to break free from All For One Vestige's control, as he proudly tells Deku that he is the hero's villain. So this fight ends in undecided. I will now continue with their battle on the ground, so big spoiler alert. So Deku and Shigaraki now clash on the ground, but Shigaraki invades the One For All Vestige realm and steals Danger Sense. Deku tries to hold his ground using Delaware Smash and Black Whip, but Shigaraki overpowers him once Gear Shift wears off. Kudo then comes up with a plan to transfer all the One For All Vestige's quirks into Shigaraki to open up and reach Tenko's soul. Their plan eventually works, and Deku and Shigaraki's memories start mixing, showing their struggles and connections. Shigaraki's body then turns into a mess of fingers, but Deku, using Black Whip to control his body, breaks through and reaches his core. Together with Nana Shimura, who makes peace with her family, he destroys Shigaraki's inner core. And just as they seem to have won the battle, All For One's vestige reappears after being killed by Bakugo, and he takes complete control over Shigaraki's body. So although Deku transferred One For All to Shigaraki, this battle ends in undecided as All For One interrupted their final clash. Now Deku, most of Class 1A, and many of the remaining heroes assemble to face All For One in the final battle. Although Deku doesn't have One for All anymore, he still has the embers remaining within him, so he can continue to fight. Eventually, All for One's body starts to crack from within, and with Deku's attacks, his body continues to crumble apart. Shigaraki and the remaining One for All users then awaken after resonating with Deku's remaining embers, and they destroy All for One's vestige, destroying him for good. So Deku takes a victory over the Demon King. Lastly, although not a real battle, Deku finally triumphs over Shigaraki as he has accepted defeat, landing a final blow to Shigaraki's disintegrating body. So Deku gets the final and most important victory ever. So, Deku's fighting record ends with 15 wins, 6 losses, and 8 battles undecided. Which of Deku's fights was your favorite? Comment down below, and thanks for watching. Oh, and also, watch this video next.